Joining us on the guest line now, spokesperson for Mississippi Power, who have their hands full down on the Gulf Coast. Jeff Shepard joins us. Jeff, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Dave, and luckily we have a lot of extra hands that are now in South Mississippi to help us out with this restoration effort.
Well, we were talking about that just a moment ago. Do you have a rough estimate how many outside contract crews you have on site in place helping out?
Yeah, so we are got about 1,000 right now that have gotten into South Mississippi that are working on our storm team. And how about this? They have come from 13 different states around the country, all over the South and as far away as Indiana, Illinois, and New York. And so, what that really kind of speaks to, Dave, is this, brotherhood in the utility industry that we were able, basically within 48 hours almost, or 36 hours, to assemble that many people to get to, the Mississippi coast. And, this is on the heels of within the last 6 weeks, Mississippi Power's crews have traveled to New York and Philadelphia to help out up there. They've gone to Louisiana twice from Lake Charles and Baton Rouge, and they've also gone to Mobile. So, unfortunately, kind of everybody, has their number called, and it's just been called here in South Mississippi. But we understand the importance of accepting that help and asking for it and getting it, and then also being a part of it. So it just really does speak to the brotherhood in this industry.
And we've seen this for a while. This is not an unusual occurrence. You guys do this all the time and have been for years.
Absolutely. And so there's a larger group of utilities across the industry called the Southeastern Electric Exchange, and there's a program in there called the Mutual Assistance Program, and it does exactly what its name implies that it does. It talks about how these utilities can assist each other. And look, if Florida would have gotten impacted by this one, we would very likely have crews in Florida working right now. And it's just whoever the utility is that is experiencing the outages. And Zeta is odd because there are utilities in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and now to the Carolinas, and even probably more north than that are going to be impacted by this storm. But yes, so there's a lot of work going on all over the country to get the lights on for customers everywhere.
Now, let's speak about that work for just a second, because a ton of people still without power on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in the wake of Hurricane Zeta. What's the timeline looking like in terms of both the progress already made and when can everybody reasonably expect to get their power back on?
So we had about 91,000 customers out of service as the storm kind of made its way out of our service territory, and we started some initial assessment and restoration work on Wednesday night. We started this morning with about 65,500 customers still without service. So we've gotten 25,000 customers approximately on, from very late Wednesday into early Thursday morning and then all day yesterday. So, a lot of work had been done already. We finished our assessment yesterday. And what I'm talking about there is, you've got to go out and look and see what the damage is. I mean, how many poles have to be replaced? How many transmission structures have to be replaced? And those are oftentimes located out in rural areas. And so, you go do that in a truck with a spotlight when necessary. We have the ability to do it with a drone in some locations, which obviously cuts down on the time that it would take to get to some of these more rural locations that are out there. And so we've completed that assessment. We're going to be providing estimated restoration times to our customers later on today, but we have been talking to them about preparing for a multi-day restoration effort, Dave. And the reason why is because the extent of the damage that was done to our infrastructure was pretty severe from this storm that, pretty much made landfall in South Mississippi as a Category 2 and moved across South Mississippi with wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour. And so, but again, we've got 1,000 people working on this right now, and they're going to continue working until we get all the lights on.
And talking about the damage, can you give us just your impression from what you know? You said the damage is severe, and I think we all realize that and understand it, but just how severe? Do you have anything you can compare this to?
So, yeah, I mean, I was over in Panama City assisting Gulf Power, one of our sister companies at the time, when Hurricane Michael came on the land, and it seems very similar there. I mean, that was a very strong Category 3. It might have gotten up to a 4 right before landfall, I believe. And, I mean, it was the same thing. Buildings are just, and it's not just electrical infrastructure that's damaged. I was driving in the Gulfport a little bit yesterday and some in Biloxi this morning. I mean, buildings are knocked down. Awnings are all over the place. Electrical infrastructure is down. You have signs for buildings and different things like that. So, boats across Highway 90, traffic lights blown down. So, it is a heavily damaged area down here. Being able to complete that damage assessment from our perspective and knowing exactly how much work we have to do, we're looking at it as almost moving day, as they say in the world of pro golf. We feel like we know what the plan is. We're going to get that plan activated today heavily with all of the folks that are here and really kind of focus in with this pinpointed plan on getting the lights on for our customers.
Now, having said that, speak for a moment, if you would, about the potential danger to residents if they get out and they get in the middle of something or they flag a power representative down. We've had a statement given to us from Mississippi 811 that normally you call 2 days before you dig, and they're asking statewide, just hold off for a couple of days because they've got their hands full down there because there is a lot of potential danger in this situation as the restoration efforts begin, isn't there?
Yeah. Absolutely. And look, there are, again, so we've got all these, big bucket trucks and, big trucks that carry all this equipment, all on the roads all over South Mississippi, from us and from some of the other, utilities that are down here that are doing work. Traffic has been a pretty big issue. And look, people have to get to work. We understand that. But, some of the folks that are out there kind of sightseeing and trying to take a look at the damage, I mentioned, street lights along Highway 90. It's not that they're not working, and in a lot of places they're not there. They have been blown down, and so treating every red light like it's a four-way stop. Unfortunately, there have been some accidents that have been caused by that, by people just not heeding to those rules of the road. Which can be obviously very dangerous. And so, we've asked people to, just try to avoid talking with the folks that are working, to let them get the job done on top of all of the COVID things that you have to worry about when you're, coming into contact with people. So there's a lot going on. I understand, people want to get out and they want to see what's going on, but we really appreciate the patience that they're showing us so far. And we hope that will continue as this effort continues as well.
Now, of course, for safety reasons, the crews, no matter how many you have, I'm pretty sure they're not working 24/7. They have to knock off at a certain amount of time just to get the rest in to be able to function safely, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, they do a little bit of work at night, but honestly, it's in the pitch black, and so it makes more sense to work during the day. But there is work that does continue through the night. But yes, this morning our Biloxi crew was meeting at 6:00 this morning to get their game plan. They were out of the door at 6:30, and they were working. The ones that were close enough to the office by 6:45, 7:00 in those bucket trucks, up and doing the work. So. It's a serious effort. They understand how important their job is, getting that normalcy, that sense of normalcy back to our customers. That's what comes with restoring electric service. And look, I mentioned earlier, all of the places that they've gone just in the last couple of months, they're getting to work now for their friends and their families in the places that they live and work and play. So, these guys are taking it seriously.
Oh, definitely. But they always do. And they have to because, and I don't know if you've seen any instances of this, but it's another potential danger that's out there. If someone has a generator, and I understand from multiple sources, a lot of folks have generators running down there, as you would expect. But if they're not hooked up properly, it can backfeed onto that line and make a dead line, a live line, which causes a danger for the crews, right?
So absolutely. That is one of the main things that can cause problems when it comes to operating a generator. The second one is carbon monoxide poisoning. They had several deaths following Hurricane Laura in Louisiana that were generator related. Folks had survived the storm, and then in the aftermath, when they were trying to, clean up their homes and start to put their lives back together, they were improperly using their generators. And so you always want to operate that outside, underneath maybe a covered patio if you have one. You don't want to put it in the garage. You certainly don't want to put it in your house. And as you mentioned, you don't want to plug your appliances. You don't want to plug the generator into the wall. You want to plug your appliances into the generator.
Exactly. You've got a long weekend ahead of you, and hopefully we can catch up with you at the start of next week and see how things are going. With any luck, we'll catch up with you at the first part of next week, and you can cheerfully report that everyone has had their power restored, even though it might not be quite that quick. We're going to be hopeful and hope for the best and go along with it. And again, be patient as your guys and women continue to work.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave, and yes, I would love to catch up with you guys again. And you were right. We have a long weekend ahead of us, but we're going to continue working. And again, we have all of these additional resources that are here to help us, and we're proud to get these lights on for our customers.
Jeff Shepard, spokesman for the Mississippi Power Company. Get back to work, Jeff. There's people that want their lights on, man.
That's right. I will. I will. Luckily, I'm not in a bucket truck. I'm here to just tell you about how great of a job those guys are doing.
Well, keep it up, and tell them we said keep it up, and thank you on behalf of the entire state for what you're doing down there on the coast. Time for a break. When we come back,